Samurai Nippon. Oda Nobunaga, revolutionary of the Warring States.
Introduction.
Rain falls like blood on the battlefield. Amidst mountains of corpses, a lone man laughs while gazing at the heavens. The great fool of Owari, feared and ridiculed by all, would eventually ignite the flame of revolution that would fundamentally overturn Japan's history. Oda Nobunaga, a man who shattered conventions, trampled traditions, and opened the door to a new era even as he made blood rain down. Everyone knows his name. But do they truly know who he was? The story of this solitary revolutionary who raced through the chaos of the warring states now begins.
Before we start, please subscribe and hit the like button. This will help similar videos appear in your feed.
Chapter 1. Nobunaga's Origins and Childhood. Birth of an Extraordinary Soul.
Oda Nobunaga's first cry was heard in the small province of Owari. From the moment of his birth, his life was disconnected from convention. Born in 1534 into a world of war, Nobunaga was known from childhood for his unconventional actions that surprised those around him. The great fool. Yes, those around him ridiculed this young heretic. Yet behind those eyes already dwelled a sharp light that could see through the times. Nobunaga throwing prayer beads and dancing wildly at his father. Nobu Haide's funeral, Nobunaga performing vulgar dances before noble warriors. All his actions seem to mock the conventions of the time. Can this madman truly inherit our house? His retainers lamented thus, but this madness was the key to breaking through the chaotic era. What burned within his heart? Was it merely an expression of abnormality, or a conscious rebellion against old customs? History keeps its silence. What is certain, however, is that this great fool would later transform into the most innovative leader in Japanese history. At 13, Nobunaga underwent his coming-of-age ceremony, and soon stood on the battlefield. Bathed in blood spray, his eyes gradually grew sharper. Behind the mask of madness was hidden the true face of a cold-blooded strategist.
Chapter 2. Oda Family Strife and Nobunaga Struggle.
The first enemy is blood kin. In 1551, the wheel of fate began to turn dramatically. When Nobunaga was 18, his father Nobu Haide suddenly departed this world. This unexpected death sent shockwaves through the Oda clan. Who would inherit the family headship? The retainers split into two factions, those supporting his well-mannered half-brother Nobuyuki, and those backing the unorthodox legitimate son Nobunaga. This internal strife would eventually develop into a bloody power struggle. The world is in chaos, houses are divided, brothers cross swords. This turmoil is my stage. Nobunaga faced this crisis with astonishing composure. First, he employed his maternal relative Hirate Masahide, securing his own foundation. Next, he eliminated the pro-Nobuyuki senior retainer Hayashi Michitoki through stratagem. Finally, he won over the clan members one by one to his side. The true nature of the man, called the Fool of Owari, was revealed here for the first time. His intellect was razor-sharp, ready to defeat his most dangerous enemies, his own blood relatives. No one in the clan had imagined Nobunaga's victory, but he overturned everyone's expectations and successfully seized control of the Oda house. Perhaps this first victory gave him confidence toward unifying the country.
Chapter 3. Parting with Brothers and the Blood-Stained Path.
Resolution of ruthlessness. The internal strife of the Oda family did not end with the confrontation against Nobuyuki. Nobunaga had many siblings, and they too raised rebellious flags one after another. Particularly painful was the conflict with his real brother Nobukazu. Initially, Nobukazu was loyal to his brother. However, instigated by those around him, he gradually developed ambitions of his own. And in 1557, the flames of rebellion were finally ignited. Nobunaga, with his innate political intuition, had sensed his brother's movements, and he made a terrible decision to execute his own brother. Born from the same mother with his own hands, shed tears in your heart. Don't show them outwardly. The enemy is always targeting our weaknesses. This cold-blooded judgment was shocking even for that time. Killing one's own brother, it was considered the most abominable act in that era. However, in Nobunaga's eyes, already dwelled the determination to survive the chaotic world. One cannot take the realm if imprisoned by sentiment. Even blood ties are meaningless before politics, that's likely what he believed. This tragic decision was the beginning of Nobunaga's ruthlessness. Later, he would also kill his uncle, Nobitomo, and drive his cousin Nobuyuki to suicide. Among his relatives, not a single one who opposed Nobunaga was spared.
Chapter 4. Relocation to Kiyosu Castle and establishing power base. Innovations. Eyeing a new era.
Having survived the bloody power struggle, Nobunaga decided to move his headquarters as his next move. He transferred his base from the old castle, bound by outdated customs, to Kiyosu Castle, a strategic stronghold. Kiyosu Castle was located in the center of Owari and was also a transportation hub. This relocation allowed Nobunaga to strengthen his control within Owari province, while making it easier to launch attacks on surrounding provinces. His foresight didn't stop there. Nobunaga introduced policies that overturned the conventions of the time. He protected merchants and abolished checkpoint tolls, promoting commercial prosperity. Gold circulates throughout the realm. Only a fool would put shackles on commerce. Most warlords of the time valued only military power. Few understood the power of economics, but Nobunaga's mind was already ahead of his time. This foresight would become the driving force behind his later unification of the country. The town of Kiyosu flourished greatly in a short time, and the Oda clan's financial foundation was dramatically strengthened. Nobunaga's governance model, which used military and economic power as twin wheels, fundamentally overturned the previous way of being a Sengoku daimyo.
Chapter 5. The Miracle of Okehazama. A strike that overturned common sense.
In May 1560, Nobunaga faced a desperate crisis. From the east, Imagawa Yoshimoto was approaching with a massive army of 25,000 men. Nobunaga had just 3,000 troops. Everyone was certain of Nobunaga's defeat. If we retreat here, our dream ends. Yet to die here is not my wish. In this desperate situation, Nobunaga decided on a daring strategy that defied common sense. Abandoning the orthodox approach of holing up in a castle to buy time, he instead launched a surprise attack. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and soon heavy rain began to fall. Using this rain to his advantage, Nobunaga led a small elite cavalry unit to charge directly at Yoshimoto's headquarters. The enemy was completely off guard and had not maintained proper vigilance in the rain. Now is the time to seize the pinnacle of a lifetime. Nobunaga's war cry blended with the sound of rain. In the confusion, Yoshimoto was killed, partly due to the betrayal of his close attendants. Nobunaga had overturned overwhelming odds to achieve a miraculous victory. This victory made the name of the Great Fool of Owari instantly known throughout the country. The Battle of Okehazama was an event that demonstrated Nobunaga's military genius to the world, while also symbolizing his spirit of questioning common sense, questioning the obvious and challenging what everyone thought impossible. That was the essence of the man called Nobunaga.
Chapter 6. Encounter with Western culture and revolutionary military reforms, seeking unknown power.
One of Nobunaga's distinctive characteristics was his voracious curiosity for new things. In particular, he showed strong interest in Western culture and technology being introduced to Japan at that time. His encounter with firearms brought revolution to Nobunaga's strategy. Firearms, introduced to Tanegashima in 1543, were still regarded by many warlords as merely curious gadgets, but Nobunaga had already recognized their military value. These black iron tubes will transform the landscape of the battlefield. Those who fail to understand this will perish. In 1561, after suffering defeat in battle against the Saito clan, Nobunaga embarked on a major military reform. He invested enormous time and effort in training gun squads, transitioning from the traditional bow-centered warfare to new tactics centered on firearms. Additionally, Nobunaga actively interacted with Portuguese missionaries, showing interest in Christianity and Western culture and science. He suppressed traditional Buddhist forces while showing tolerance toward Christianity and encouraging the Nanban trade. This open-minded attitude would lead to innovative policies, like the free market's Rakuichi Rakuza system. Nobunaga sympathized with Western rational thinking and sought to incorporate it into his own governance, though sometimes called the Demon King of the Sixth Heaven. Nobunaga's essence may have been that of an innovator rather than a destroyer, destroying the old and incorporating the new. That was the belief that ran through his entire life.
Chapter 7. Conquest of Mino and Inabayama Castle Victory through strategy and patience.
Having pacified Owari and eliminated the threat of the Imagawa, Nobunaga set his sights on expanding into Mino Province, present-day Gifu Prefecture. Mino was ruled by Saito Tatsuoki of the Saito family. The conquest of Mino was not easy. Inabayama Castle, later Gifu Castle, was built on top of a steep mountain and was considered impregnable. Nobunaga launched attacks many times but could not capture the castle. Castles do not fall by force alone. Wait for them to crumble from within. So Nobunaga devised a strategy to turn Inaba Yoshimichi, a retainer of Castle Lord Saito Tatsuoki, to his side. Having gained an inside collaborator, Nobunaga succeeded in securing the bloodless surrender of Inabayama Castle in 1567, after more than 6 years of struggle. During this process of conquering Mino, Nobunaga demonstrated remarkable patience, contrary to his own character. He prioritized long-term prospects over short-term victories, taking time to crumble the enemy from within. With this success, Nobunaga became a daimyo controlling 2 provinces, Owari and Mino, further solidifying his foothold toward national unification. From around this time, Nobunaga began to consider advancing to Kyoto. The banner of Tenkafubu, unify the realm by military force, became more clearly visible.
Chapter 8. Declaration of Tenkafubu and Gifu Castle, public unveiling of ambition.
Having acquired Inabayama Castle, Nobunaga renamed it Gifu. This name, Gifu, was taken from the Chinese classic Book of Poetry. The renaming of the castle was not a mere whim, but symbolized Nobunaga's grand ambition. And from here, Nobunaga began using the seal of Tenkafubu. This was an unprecedented, bold declaration meaning unify the realm by military force. At that time, only Nobunaga made such a declaration, and it directly rejected the authority of the Muromachi shogunate. Thus have I resolved. The time for Tenkafubu has come. At Gifu Castle, Nobunaga's innovative tastes could be seen throughout, such as establishing Western-style reception rooms. He also focused on developing the castle town, introducing the free market Rakuichi Rakuza system. This system gave merchants privileges and guaranteed free commercial activities. The Rakuichi Rakuza received enthusiastic support from merchants, and the town of Gifu flourished greatly in no time. This policy also dramatically strengthened Nobunaga's economic foundation. His economic policies would later lay the groundwork for commercial development in the Edo period. The declaration of Tenkafubu marked a turning point, showing that Nobunaga had transformed from a mere daimyo into a revolutionary who would change Japanese history. His ambition was no longer hidden but openly proclaimed.
Chapter 9. Confrontation with the shogun and the Kyoto campaign, parting with old authority.
After pacifying Mino, Nobunaga's next target was Kyoto. At that time, Ashikaga Yoshiaki, the shogun of the Muromachi shogunate, was the nominal ruler of Kyoto, but in reality, warriors known as the 3 Miyoshi leaders held actual power. Yoshiaki was in conflict with the 3 Miyoshi leaders and had been expelled from Kyoto. Seizing this opportunity, Nobunaga marched to Kyoto in 1568, supporting Yoshiaki. This gave Nobunaga the backing of the shogun, taking the first step toward becoming the ruler of the realm in both name and reality. Borrowing the shogun's authority is a temporary strategy. Before my ambition, even the shogun becomes an obstacle to be removed if necessary. However, the honeymoon between Yoshiaki and Nobunaga did not last long. Yoshiaki disliked Nobunaga's unilateral actions and gradually began to oppose him. He tried to form an anti-Nobunaga coalition by bringing together the imperial court, religious forces, and other daimyo. Nobunaga saw through this, and in 1573, finally expelled Shogun Yoshiaki from Kyoto. This meant not just the expulsion of the shogun, but the effective end of the Muromachi shogunate. Nobunaga put an end to the ruling system of the Ashikaga shogunate that had lasted about 240 years. This action fundamentally overturned the political common sense of the time. The shogun was the highest authority in Japan, and it was unthinkable to defy his authority. But Nobunaga, unbound by old authority, was trying to carve out a new era with his own hands.
Chapter 10. Burning of Mount Hiei and suppression of Buddhist forces, challenge to untouchable authority.
One of the events that most symbolizes Nobunaga's revolutionary nature was the burning of Enryaku-ji Temple on Mount Hiei in Bimen Sekimar. Hiei was the headquarters of Japanese Buddhism and had been a sacred realm revered by both the imperial court and warrior houses since ancient times. Nobunaga mercilessly set fire to this Mount Hiei. In the background was the political reason that Mount Hiei had been supporting Nobunaga's opposing forces, but there was a fierceness that cannot be explained by that alone. Nobunaga thoroughly burned down the halls and pagodas on the mountain, reportedly indiscriminately killing thousands, including monks, women, and children. Even gods and Buddhas are powerless before me. Fear the name of the Demon King. People of the time were left speechless by this atrocity. In an era when it was believed impossible to unify the realm without the protection of gods and Buddhas, Nobunaga deliberately bared his fangs at Buddhist forces. He was acting in a manner truly befitting his self-proclaimed title of Demon King of the Sixth Heaven. The burning of Mount Hiei is remembered as an event demonstrating Nobunaga's ruthlessness, but it was also a manifestation of his thorough anti-authoritarianism. By challenging old religious authority, Nobunaga was trying to establish his new power base. This incident was also in contrast to Nobunaga's protection policy toward Christianity, indicating that he was politically trying to suppress traditional Buddhist forces. The state Nobunaga aimed for was probably one based on a new order, liberated from old authority structures.
Chapter 11, 10-Year War with Ishiyama Honganji, a battle of tenacity.
Though Nobunaga had subjugated Mount Hiei, another formidable enemy stood in his way: Ishiyama Honganji in Osaka. Honganji was the headquarters of the Jodo Shinshu sect and had a powerful network of believers throughout the country. Nobunaga began his battle with Ishiyama Honganji in 1570, but this unexpectedly turned into a long-term war. Honganji not only had a solid fortress but also secured supply routes from the sea, making it difficult to capture. The enemy is not just one. We must crush those who support Honganji one by one. In this battle, Nobunaga came to know the limits of his own strategy. His favored mobility and surprise attack tactics were less effective against siege warfare against a solid fortress. However, Nobunaga never gave up. He attempted a naval blockade and crushed the supporting forces one by one. He also developed new siege tactics using guns and cannons. After 10 years of tenacious fighting, Honganji finally surrendered in 1580. This victory allowed Nobunaga to establish control over the Kanai region, making great progress toward unifying the country. The war with Ishiyama Honganji was an event that demonstrated Nobunaga's tenacity and patience, as well as his strategic flexibility. Recognizing his own limitations and developing new tactics, that approach may have been Nobunaga's true strength.
Chapter 12, Construction of Azuchi Castle and Nobunaga's ideal state symbol of revolution.
In 1576, Nobunaga began construction of an unprecedented castle on Mount Azuchi in Omi Province, present-day Shiga Prefecture. This was the famous Azuchi Castle. Azuchi Castle was an innovative structure that set itself apart from previous Japanese castles. Its 7-storied keep reached a height of 48 meters, and the interior was decorated with magnificent screen paintings. Moreover, the castle's structure itself had a role as a symbol to demonstrate Nobunaga's authority, rather than being merely a military facility. My castle pierces the heavens, and my name shall remain eternal. Enormous funds and labor were invested in the construction of Azuchi Castle, but Nobunaga did not spare them. His purpose was not just to create a defensive facility, but to create a microcosm of his ideal state. The castle town was also systematically developed, with merchants and craftsmen from various provinces gathered in grid-pattern districts. It is believed that Nobunaga envisioned a centralized governance system centered on Azuchi. Western influences were also evident in Azuchi Castle. Its architectural style incorporated elements of Western architecture that Nobunaga had learned from Portuguese missionaries. Azuchi Castle was the crystallization of Nobunaga's dreams and ambitions, and it symbolized the new Japan he aimed for, breaking down the old order and building a new unified state. That grand concept was embodied in Azuchi Castle.
Chapter 13, Tencho Ige Rebellion and Iron Invasion, Retaliation against Total Resistance.
With Azuchi Castle as his base, Nobunaga continued to expand his influence, but in 1579, a large-scale rebellion suddenly erupted in Iga Province, present-day Iga region of Mie Prefecture. This was the so-called Tensho Iga Rebellion. The province of Iga was a region surrounded by steep mountains where autonomous organizations, including ninja groups, had developed from ancient times. They disliked Nobunaga's rule and rose up in unison. Nobunaga first dispatched his adopted son Nobukatsu, but Nobukatsu's army suffered a devastating blow from the surprise attack of the Iga forces. Enraged by this, Nobunaga himself led a large army to invade Iga in 1581. No mercy for rebels. Kill them all without exception. This invasion was truly like an iron storm. Nobunaga completely surrounded Iga, blocked all escape routes, and carried out a thorough mopping-up operation. Villages were burned down, and residents were killed regardless of age or gender. The once proud Iga forces were trampled, and the province of Iga was literally wiped off the map. This cruel retaliation is remembered by later generations as an event symbolizing Nobunaga's ruthlessness. With the suppression of the Iga rebellion, Nobunaga's control system was further strengthened. Showing no mercy to those who resist that attitude may have been the essence of Nobunaga's rule.
Chapter 14. Nobunaga's character and influence on later generations, legacy of a solitary revolutionary.
Nobunaga was an innovative leader who was not bound by conventional wisdom or customs. Many of his policies and actions were unprecedented at the time, but would have a significant impact on Japan's later development. He was not merely a conqueror by military force, but a true revolutionary who tried to transform the entire social system. His commercial promotion policies, represented by free markets, Rakuichi Rakuza, became the foundation for economic development in the Edo period. Also, his attitude of protecting Christianity and actively incorporating Western culture and technology could be said to be a precursor to Japan's modernization. The dream of Tenkafubu shall continue after my death. Nobunaga's innovation extended to the military sphere as well. He introduced firearms in large numbers and fundamentally transformed conventional tactics. It was also Nobunaga who laid the foundations for a modern military system, such as organizing military corps and developing logistics. In 1582, Nobunaga lost his life in the Honnoji incident due to the betrayal of Akechi Mitsuhide. His end was dramatic and sudden, but the foundation he built was passed on to Toyotomi, Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu, eventually leading to the unification of Japan. Nobunaga is sometimes feared as the demon king of the sixth heaven, and his brutality is emphasized. However, wasn't his essence that of a creator rather than a destroyer? He destroyed the old order and opened up a new era in that sense. He was truly a revolutionary of the warring states. His life was short at 49 years, but his influence extends to the present day. As one of the most controversial and most fascinating figures in Japanese history, Nobunaga's name will likely be remembered forever.
Ending.
Today, we trace the grand dream trajectory of Oda Nobunaga from family strife to national unification. The life of a revolutionary who broke conventions was at times utterly merciless, yet always ran forward with his eyes on the future. The revolutionary flame he lit, though his body vanished in the Honnoji incident, brought an indelible light to Japanese history. Nobunaga was a presence who lit a new light in a Japan closed in the darkness of the era. The countless stories of blood and tears hidden in the shadows of that light, and the stark fact that today's Japan would not have been possible without him. History is not merely a story of the past, but the source that shapes our present. We will continue to convey the soul cries of the warring states' heroes.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Stay tuned for our next episode. Thank you for watching until the end.